When my granddaughter slipped that folded napkin into my hand under the Thanksgiving table, I thought she was playing one of her little games. But when I read those 7 words, my blood ran cold. Don't eat anything. Pretend you're choking. Now. I looked at her, confused, but her eyes were filled with a terror I had never seen before in my 14 years of knowing her. She shook her head almost imperceptibly, begging me to trust her. Only hours later did I understand that those 7 words had saved my life. That Thursday morning had started beautifully in our family home in the suburbs of Denver. I had lived in this house for 43 years, raised my 2 children here, and buried my husband from this very living room 8 years ago. After Harold passed, the house became my anchor, filled with memories of birthday parties, Christmas mornings, and Sunday dinners that brought the whole family together. My son, Gregory, had driven up from Phoenix with his wife, Diane, and their daughter, my sweet granddaughter Sophie. My daughter, Christine, came from Seattle with her husband and their 2 boys. It was the first time in 3 years we had all been together for Thanksgiving, and I had spent the entire week preparing. Gregory was always the ambitious one. At 52, he ran a successful real estate development company, or so he claimed. He wore expensive suits, drove a Mercedes, and spoke with the confidence of a man who had conquered the world. Diane, his wife of 25 years, was polished and poised, always smiling, always saying the right things. But there was something behind her eyes that I could never quite read, a calculation that made me uneasy. Sophie was different from both of them. Quiet, observant, with her grandmother's intuition and her late grandfather's stubborn sense of justice. She spent most family gatherings reading in corners or helping me in the kitchen, avoiding her parents' conversations about money and status. That morning, I was arranging the centerpiece when Gregory and Diane arrived early, before Christine's family. Gregory hugged me stiffly, the way he always did, as if physical affection was a business transaction. "Mom, you look tired," he said, studying my face. "Have you been sleeping well?" "I'm fine, Gregory. Just excited to have everyone here." Diane kissed my cheek, her perfume overwhelming. "The house looks wonderful, Eleanor. Though I notice the gutters need cleaning, and the porch railing is loose. This place is becoming a lot for you to maintain alone, isn't it?" Before I could respond, Sophie rushed past them and wrapped her arms around me. "Grandma, I missed you so much." I held her tight, breathing in the simple joy of her presence. "I missed you too, sweetheart. Come help me with the pies?" As we walked to the kitchen, I caught Gregory and Diane exchanging a look. Something passed between them, a silent communication that excluded everyone else. I dismissed it as my imagination. In the kitchen, Sophie was unusually quiet. She helped me roll pie crust, but her hands trembled slightly, and she kept glancing toward the living room where her parents were talking in hushed tones. "Everything okay, Sophie?" I asked, touching her shoulder. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it. "I'm fine, Grandma, just tired from the drive." But she wasn't fine. I had known this child since the day she was born. I had held her through nightmares, taught her to read, listened to her secrets. Something was very wrong. Christine's family arrived around noon, filling the house with noise and laughter. My 2 grandsons, Michael and David, immediately started a video game in the den, while Christine helped me finish the cooking. Her husband, Robert, a gentle accountant with a dry sense of humor, kept everyone's glasses filled. Dinner was served at 4 o'clock. The table looked beautiful, covered with my mother's lace tablecloth and set with the china Harold and I had received for our wedding. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce, everything was perfect. Gregory sat at the head of the table, a position Harold used to occupy. I said nothing, though it stung. "Mom, this looks incredible," Christine said, squeezing my hand. "You outdid yourself." "It's what I do," I smiled. "It's what this house is for." "Family?" Halfway through the meal, Gregory cleared his throat in that way he did when he had something important to say. "Mom, Diane and I have been talking. We're worried about you living alone in this big house." I set down my fork. I'm perfectly fine, Gregory. I've lived here for over 40 years. That's exactly the point, Diane interjected smoothly. 40 years is a long time. The house needs repairs. The neighborhood isn't what it used to be. And frankly, Eleanor, you're not getting any younger. Christine frowned. What are you suggesting? Gregory pulled out a folder from a bag beside his chair. We've found a wonderful assisted living community in Scottsdale. Beautiful facilities, professional care, activities. It's only 20 minutes from our house, so we could visit all the time. My heart stopped. You want me to leave my home? We want you to be safe and comfortable, Gregory said, his voice dripping with rehearsed concern. This house is worth a lot of money, Mom. We could sell it, use the proceeds to pay for your care, and you wouldn't have to worry about maintenance or property taxes ever again. Sell the house? Christine stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. This is Mom's home. Dad built that porch with his own hands. We grew up here. Christine, be reasonable, Diane said. Your mother is 71 years old. She fell last winter, remember? What if something worse happens and no one is here to help? I slipped on ice, I said, my voice shaking. It was nothing. It was a warning, Gregory countered. Mom, we love you. We want what's best for you. The argument continued, voices rising and falling. Sophie sat frozen beside me, her face pale. Under the table, I felt her hand press something into my palm. A napkin, folded small and tight. I opened it carefully, shielding it with my other hand. The words hit me like ice water. Don't eat anything. Pretend you're choking. Now. I looked at Sophie. Her eyes met mine, wide with fear and desperation. She gave the tiniest nod toward my plate, then toward the kitchen. My mind raced. Sophie had never lied to me, never played cruel jokes. If she was this frightened, something terrible was happening. I trusted my granddaughter. I grabbed my throat, gasping dramatically. I can't breathe. Christine rushed to my side. Mom! What's wrong? I made choking sounds, pushing back from the table, knocking over my water glass for effect. Water. Wrong pipe. Bathroom. I stumbled toward the hallway, with Sophie right behind me. Once we were out of sight, she grabbed my hand and pulled me into the downstairs bathroom, locking the door behind us. Sophie, what is going on? I whispered urgently. Her face crumpled. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner, but I didn't have proof, and I thought maybe I was wrong, but I'm not wrong, and now… Slow down, sweetheart. Tell me. She took a shaky breath. Last month, I heard Mom and Dad talking late at night. They thought I was asleep, Dad said. He said, the company is bankrupt. He lost everything. They're millions of dollars in debt. My stomach dropped. What? There's more. Sophie's voice cracked. Dad said the only way out was your house and your life insurance. Mom said they needed to speed up the timeline. I didn't understand at first, but then Dad said something about making it look natural. About how old people have heart attacks all the time and nobody questions it. The room spun. You're saying your father wants to kill you, Grandma. Tears streamed down her face. For the inheritance. The house is worth almost $1 million, and your life insurance is $500,000 more. Dad is the beneficiary for everything. I leaned against the sink, struggling to breathe. That's impossible. Gregory is my son. He would never. I know how it sounds. But I kept listening. Every night for 3 weeks. They have a plan, Grandma. Something in your food tonight. Something that makes it look like a heart attack. Mom said she researched it. Something with potassium or digitalis. I don't remember the exact word, but it's supposed to be undetectable. I thought about Diane's insistence that I eat, the way Gregory kept refilling my plate, the strange taste in the stuffing that I had attributed to a new spice. I haven't eaten much, I whispered. A few bites of turkey, some potatoes. Sophie's eyes widened. We need to get you to a hospital. And we need to leave now. Before they realize something is wrong. A knock on the door made us both jump. Mom? Sophie? It was Gregory's voice. Everything okay in there? I forced myself to sound weak. Yes, dear. Just feeling a bit dizzy. Sophie's helping me. Open the door, Mom. Let me see you. Sophie shook her head frantically, pointing toward the small window above the toilet. I'll be out in a minute, Gregory. Just need to splash some water on my face. Silence. Then footsteps, walking away. The window, Sophie whispered. It's small, but we can fit. My car keys are in my jacket in the hall closet. Wait, no. That won't work. Your Aunt Christine's car, I said, my mind sharpening with adrenaline. The keys are probably in her purse in the kitchen. I can't get to the kitchen without passing them. I thought fast. The back door in the laundry room. It leads to the side yard. Christine always parks on the street, not the driveway. If we can get to her car, Mom. Gregory's voice again, closer now. Open this door. You're worrying everyone. One moment. Gregory. Sophie climbed onto the toilet seat and pushed open the window. Cold November air rushed in. You first, Grandma. I'll help you. At 71, with arthritis in my knees and a hip that ached in cold weather, I should not have been able to climb through a bathroom window. But terror is a powerful motivator. Sophie boosted me up, and I squeezed through, falling ungracefully onto the frozen ground outside. Sophie followed seconds later, landing beside me. We ran through the side yard as quietly as we could, staying close to the house. I heard Gregory's voice inside, demanding that Robert find a key to the bathroom door. Christine's minivan was parked at the curb. The doors were unlocked, a habit Robert always scolded her for. Sophie and I climbed in just as I heard shouting from inside the house. They found out we're gone, Sophie said, her voice high with panic. Keys. Where are the keys? Sophie rummaged through the center console and found them tucked in the cup holder. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely insert them into the ignition. I don't have my license yet, Grandma. I only have a permit. Then I'll drive. I grabbed the keys and switched seats with her, ignoring the pain shooting through my hip. Years of muscle memory kicked in as I started the engine. The front door of the house burst open. Gregory ran toward us, his face contorted with fury. I floored the accelerator. The minivan lurched forward, tires squealing as I pulled away from the curb. In the rearview mirror, I saw Gregory standing in the street, phone pressed to his ear, watching us escape. Where are we going? Sophie asked, gripping the dashboard. The hospital first. If they put something in my food, I need treatment. Then the police. They won't believe us, Grandma. Dad will say you're senile. Mom will back him up. They've been telling everyone for months that you're losing your mind. I felt sick. I had noticed Gregory asking strange questions about my memory, about whether I knew what day it was. I had thought he was being caring. Now I understood he was building a case. What proof do we have? I asked. Sophie pulled out her phone. I recorded them. 3 weeks ago, when I first heard them talking, I put my phone under their bedroom door and recorded the whole conversation. Hope surged through me. You have it all? Most of it. Enough to prove what they were planning. We drove to Denver Health Medical Center. In the emergency room, I explained that I suspected I had been poisoned at dinner. The doctors were skeptical at first, but when they tested my blood, their expressions changed. Mrs. Patterson, the emergency physician said, his face grave, we found elevated levels of digoxin in your system. It's a heart medication, but in the wrong dose, it can be lethal. Did you take any medications today? No. Nothing. Then, someone gave it to you without your knowledge. This is a criminal matter. We need to call the police. For the next several hours, Sophie and I told our story to investigators, first hospital security, then 2 detectives from the Denver Police Department. Sophie played the recording on her phone. Gregory's voice, clear and damning. The digoxin will mimic a heart attack. No one will question it. She's 71, lives alone, has a history of heart palpitations. We'll be shocked and grieving, and within 6 months, the house is sold, and we're out of debt. Diane's response. And if Sophie suspects anything, she won't. And even if she does, who believes a teenager over her own parents? The detective stopped the recording. Mrs. Patterson, this is attempted murder. We'll be arresting your son and daughter-in-law tonight. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face. My son, my firstborn child. The boy I had nursed through fevers, cheered at baseball games, held when his first girlfriend broke his heart. That boy had grown into a man who wanted me dead for money. The arrest happened at 11 that night. Gregory and Diane were taken from a motel where they had been hiding, waiting to report my sudden death the next morning. The police found research on untraceable poisons in Diane's laptop and a burner phone with texts detailing their plan. The story made national news. A son's plot to murder his elderly mother for inheritance. The brave granddaughter who saved her life. I was interviewed by newspapers, TV stations, even a true crime podcast, but I refused most requests. This wasn't entertainment to me. It was betrayal at the deepest level. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Gregory and Diane both pled not guilty, claiming Sophie had misunderstood their conversations, that the digoxin must have been accidental contamination, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the research, the carefully planned timeline. Gregory was sentenced to 25 years for attempted murder. Diane received 20 years as an accessory. As they were led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, Gregory turned and looked at me. For a moment, I searched his face for my son, for any trace of the boy I had raised, but there was only cold fury. "This isn't over, Mother," he said. I held Sophie's hand and said nothing. Christine moved back to Denver after the trial. She and Robert bought a house 2 miles from mine, and their boys visited every weekend. Sophie came to live with me, while her parents served their sentences, and I became her legal guardian. Those first months were difficult. Sophie blamed herself for not speaking up sooner, for not stopping her parents before they could act. I held her through nightmares, just as I had when she was small. "You saved my life," I told her over and over. "You were braver than anyone could have expected." We went to therapy together, learning to process the trauma, to rebuild trust in a world that had been shattered. Sophie struggled with depression, with the knowledge that her own parents had valued money over human life. But slowly, she began to heal. A year after the incident, on a warm spring evening, Sophie and I were planting flowers in the backyard. The garden had been Harold's pride, and I had let it fall into disrepair after his death. Now, Sophie and I were bringing it back to life. "Grandma," she said, patting soil around a rose bush, "do you ever regret trusting me that night? Without proof, it could have gone badly." I sat back on my heels and looked at her. She was 15 now, taller, more serious, with a wisdom in her eyes that no child should have to earn. "Never," I said firmly. "I knew you would never lie to me about something that serious. That's what trust means, Sophie. It's believing in someone even when you can't see the full picture." She smiled, a genuine smile that had become rare in the past year. "I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. Someone who helps people who can't help themselves, who makes sure bad people get caught. You'd be wonderful at that." That evening, after dinner, I opened the drawer in my bedroom where I kept my most precious possessions. Harold's wedding ring, a photo of my mother, and the napkin, smoothed and preserved in a plastic sleeve. 7 words that saved my life. Last month, Sophie turned 16. We celebrated with Christine's family, a quiet dinner in the garden, surrounded by the roses we had planted together. No fancy china, no elaborate dishes. Just the people who loved each other, truly loved each other, sharing a meal. "Make a wish," I said, as Sophie blew out her candles. She closed her eyes, then opened them and smiled at me. "It already came true, Grandma." Looking at my granddaughter, at my daughter, at the home I nearly lost, I understood something I had been too blind to see for years. Family isn't blood. It isn't obligation or inheritance or the accident of birth. Family is the people who show up, who protect each other, who write desperate notes on napkins when words are too dangerous to speak aloud. Gregory and Diane had shared my blood, but they were never my family. Sophie, with her quiet courage and fierce heart, had proven that love is a choice, made over and over again, even when it costs everything. I still live in my house in Denver. The gutters are clean, the porch railing is fixed, and the garden is beautiful. Christine visits every week, and Sophie will graduate high school next year with honors. She has already been accepted to 3 universities with pre-law programs. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what would have happened if Sophie had stayed silent. If I had eaten that Thanksgiving dinner without question, if I had trusted my son more than my instincts. But then I remember the truth that saved me. Children see what adults refuse to see. They have not yet learned to ignore the warning signs, to explain away the cruelty of people who are supposed to love them. Sophie saw her parents clearly, even when I could not. And she chose me. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Trust the people who have earned your trust, not the people who demand it by right of relation. Listen to the quiet ones, the observers, the children who seem to know more than they should, and never, ever ignore a note slipped into your hand by someone who loves you. Those 7 words, scrawled on a paper napkin, gave me more years with my granddaughter, more sunsets in my garden, more chances to tell the people I love that I love them. What would have happened 10 minutes later if Sophie had stayed silent? I know the answer. I try not to think about it. Instead, I think about the roses blooming outside my window, the sound of Sophie's laughter in the kitchen, and the simple miracle of being alive to see another day. And when the darkness creeps in, when the memories threaten to overwhelm me, I take out that napkin and read those 7 words one more time. They remind me that courage can come in the smallest forms, that love is stronger than greed, and that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we least expect. Do you believe that the ones who truly love us are sometimes the ones society expects us to trust least? Share your thoughts below. And if this story touched you, stay with me so we can keep listening, learning, and discovering what it really means to be family.